All right, welcome to the Hanson Board of Selectmen meeting. Tonight is February 11th, and we are going to join one another in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, and this meeting is being televised via Whitman Hanson Cable Access Television. Would you please join me in a moment of silence for Ed Bates, who recently passed away. Ed was on Parks and Fields. Okay, thank you. Mr. Bloss, may I impose upon you to read the public announcements and upcoming meetings?
On March 14th, the Hanson Business Network will be hosting its third annual St. Patrick's Day fundraiser to benefit the Hanson Food Pantry from 6:30 to 9:30 at Needles Lodge in Camp Kewanee. This event will be a St. Patrick's themed shindig, complete with dinner, live Irish music, DJ'd Irish music, an Irish step dancing performance, cash bar, a silent auction, and a St. Patrick's Day photo booth. Tickets are a bargain at $25 per person and may be purchased online at Eventbrite by emailing Laura Kemet at lfitzkemet@gmail.com or by calling 781-294-1261. Discounts are available for folks who purchase 8 tickets or more. Please visit the Hanson Business Network Facebook page for more information. If you cannot attend but wish to donate an item for a silent auction or raffle, it would be deeply appreciated. There will be a special voter registration session held on Wednesday, February 12th from 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. at the Town Hall. This will be the last day to register to vote for the March 3rd presidential primary. Any citizen may register to vote at the town clerk's office between regular business hours, Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday, 8 to 5 p.m., and Tuesday, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m., mail-in registration or online. Any resident citizen who will be 18 years of age by March 3rd is eligible to register to vote by February 12th. Nomination papers for the May 16th Town of Hanson annual election are now available at the Hanson Town Clerk's office. For more information, contact the Town Clerk at 781-293-2772. Early voting will begin on February 24th and continue through February 28th, 2020 for the presidential primary on March 3rd. Early voting can be done in person at the Hanson Town Hall, 542 Liberty Street during regular business hours, which are Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday, 8 a.m. to 1 p.m., 2 p.m. to 5 p.m., Tuesday, 8 a.m. to 1 p.m., 2 p.m. to 8 p.m., and Friday, 8 a.m. to 12 noon. Voting may be done anytime during those hours from February 24th to February 28th. Absentee ballots are now available at the Hanson Town Clerk's office for the presidential primary being held on Tuesday, March 3rd. Any registered voter who is unable to vote in person on Election Day due to absence from town, physical disability, or religious belief may obtain an absentee ballot. Voters may absentee vote in person at the Town Clerk's office or by mail. Applications for absentee ballots will be accepted at the Town Clerk's office until 12 noon Monday, March 2nd. For more information, call the Town Clerk's office at 781-293-2772. All voters and residents who have not returned their 2020 census form are urged to do so by the Town Clerk. Any voter that has not returned their 2020 town census form will be placed on the inactive voter list for future elections. The Hanson Library is again participating in the Boston Bruins annual PJ Drive to benefit DCF and Cradles to Crayons. From February 1st through March 15th, the Hanson Library will be accepting donations of new pairs of pajamas for babies, children, and teens with the goal of collecting 100 pairs. Anyone interested in filling the vacancy on the planning board until the May 16th, 2020 town election should fill out a volunteer application found on the www.hanson-ma.gov and submit it to the Selectman's office. Volunteers are needed on the following committees: 200th Anniversary, Capital Improvement, Conservation Commission regular and 2 associate members, Cultural Council, Disabilities, Economic Development, Finance, Highway Building Committee, Historical Commission, Memorial Day Patriotic Observance, Memorial Field Trustees, North River Commission, and Zoning Board Alternate. Application for appointments and info on the committee is available on the town website, www.hanson-ma.gov. Upcoming meetings: Tuesday, February 25th, Tuesday, March 17th, and Tuesday, March 24th. Board of Selectmen meetings, all at 7 p.m.
And I did want to mention, thank you, Mr. Boss, that was quite a mouthful, and you did it quite
Fast.
efficiently, you did. The position for the planning board, which is just an interim position, because it will be on the ballot for the May 16th town election. We will be discussing that, hopefully, if people apply, at our Tuesday, February 25th meeting. Okay? And I've heard rumblings that people might apply, and I would encourage people to apply. It's a great way to test out whether this is something that you might want to do without really having a lifetime commitment, because some of those appointments can be 5 years. Yeah, 5 years. So I mean that, you know, it's a good way to kind of dip your toes in the water and see if it's something you might be interested in, and it's just a couple of months. Okay, with that, we have got Corinne Cafardo and Karen Stolfer here from the library, and I'm not sure, Karen, are you going to give us the update? Okay, great.
Well, thank you for the opportunity to share what's happening at the library. You should all have received an infographic with some statistics about library use from 2019. So as you can see, in 2019 we had almost 37,000 visitors to the library. We have a people counter installed. We had 4,300 attend programs, almost 50,000 or over 50,000 items checked out, and plus 8,800 ebooks checked out. So there's a lot of other statistics. I think it's just a good way of showing that people are using the library. It's an important part of the community. So moving on to 2020, so as was read in the announcements, we're participating in the Bruins Drive again. It's Pajama Drive. It's a collaboration between the Bruins, DCF, Kratos to Crayons, and Massachusetts Libraries. And we're collecting new pajamas, children of all ages. Last year, I believe we collected almost 50 pairs. So this year, our goal is between 75 to 100, and people can drop them off until March 15th. We also have some great programs coming up. So for Valentine's Day, Friday, we have a craft program for kids at 11. On the Saturday, there's a costume character coming from Massasoit's theater production of Disney's Beauty and the Beast, and they're going to be doing a story time at 10:30.
Cute.
And then the following week is obviously vacation week, so we have a lot going on. Tuesday, we have a family art class, so groups of 2 or 3 family or friends can come and paint a canvas. Wednesday, we have a showing of Frozen 2, and we're encouraging kids to come in their pajamas or in Frozen costume, and we're going to have popcorn for them. Thursday, we're kind of keeping in with the Frozen theme. We're doing a tea party with the Snow Sisters, who they do singing and dancing, and kids can dress up as well if they want for that. Later that night, our friends group is holding a fundraiser, so they're doing a martini glass paint night. Excuse me. For $25, people can paint 2 martini glasses and fund support library programming in the future.
Will you be serving martinis?
No. Just keep the
Inquiring
glass
minds
and use
wanna
it at your
know.
house. Friday at 10, we're doing a chess club, and it's actually going to be led by National Honor Society students Nathaniel O'Brien and Aiden Miller. They've agreed to help us out with that, so we'd like to thank them for their help with that. Then Friday later at 1, there's a fun program, Microwave Bug Meals, for ages 12 and up, and the instructor is going to teach kids how to make chocolate chip cookies in the microwave.
Ew.
We're also working with our foundation on programming, so they have 2 programs coming up. Sunday, February 23rd at 3, author Andre Dubus is going to talk about his novel Gone So Long. Some of you may be familiar. He was the author also of The House of Sand and Fog. He wrote that. Saturday, March 7th at 12:30, there's a cooking demonstration and tasting with Good Life Kitchen of Norwell. There is a fee of $10, and there's about 10 spots left, so it is filling up quick. I don't have the menu with me here, but it will be posted to our website soon. And then we're also co-sponsoring an event with Green Hanson. So it's going to be about the Bay Circuit Trail, and host Dan Brielman is going to be sharing his experiences about hiking the trail and also talk about some environmental issues. And that's on Tuesday, March 3rd at 7. So that's some of the program that we have coming up. We also have we have weekly story times, we have yoga. There's a lot of things on our calendar, so people can go there and take a look if they want. In addition to program, we also have some other exciting things going on. We're working on creating a teen room at the library, so we've been moving some furniture around, trying to make the best use of the limited space that we have to draw teens in. With some of the money that was donated in memory of Gret Lozo, who was a former trustee, we've purchased a Nintendo Switch, so we're going to be setting that up in the teen room. It's going to be available for kids to use when we're open. We're also going to be using it during our half-day hangout programs, which is a program sponsored also by Lozo Funds. And that's on every middle school Friday half-day. We have that program at noon. The room's also going to house our young adult book collection. So we just think it'll be a nice place for kids to come and socialize and play games and hang out and read. And then we do have a dedication coming up for Gret Lozo, which is going to be Saturday, March 28th at 11. So everybody's invited to come to that. We have a memorial plaque that we have. And then just finally, just a couple things. Some of you may have heard in different newspaper articles that a lot of libraries now are doing a library of things, which is basically lending out different types of items other than traditional like books and movies. So Hanson is trying to get on board with that. So we do right now have Kindle and Nook e-readers that people can check out. They're preloaded with titles. We have kilowatt devices. You can check if appliances or how much energy they're using in your house. We have phone chargers that people can use in the library if your phone's battery's getting low. You can borrow the charger and charge it. We also just recently, with funds from our library foundation, we purchased a Cricut device, and that's basically a smart cutting machine. So you can design, there's an app or a web interface, and you can design something, and then you can send it to the machine, and you can feed it with different types of materials. So you can cut something onto paper or vinyl, cardboard, different fabrics. So it's kind of like a DIY kind of craft device. So we're going to use that in the library for different programming, and then open it up to the public for people to use. We were also donated a telescope recently, so we're going to look into loaning that out as well. But we would like to have people come and tell us what else, what other materials that they might like us to offer. Some of the things that other libraries have done have been fishing poles, unusual cake pans, ukuleles, mobile hotspots. So we would love to hear from people to see what they might like to have us, lend out to them. So that's just an update of what's happening at the library.
That's fun. Wow, you've got a lot of really great programming, a lot of really good thought going into everything that you guys are doing. Yeah, really impressive.
Since Karen, I'm Corinne Cavato, Chair Trustee, and I speak on behalf of all the trustees since Karen became the librarian 2 years ago. I mean, the children's programs have doubled. There's always something going on in the library, and the parking lot is always filled, which is great. When you come to the library, I like to see the spaces all filled. Also, on the chess sets, we need chess sets. So if you know anybody who has one, they don't use it anymore, or you can lend us one for a period of time, we would really appreciate that.
Yeah, that would be very helpful.
Okay.
And we're participating in Hanson Day also.
I think Karen was the first one to reply, saying, we will be at Hanson Day.
Yeah, I sent it to her.
I think I copied Karen too. I just covered all my bases and sent it to everybody. Yeah. Mr. Dyer.
So for those at home, what's a great way for people to follow the library and be constantly updated? Do you have emails?
So we have Facebook and Instagram.
Okay.
So in our reference librarian, she's been here a couple years now, and she's done an excellent job of really getting people to follow us and posting really interesting different things. So we encourage people to follow us on social media.
And what's your handle on those pages?
Hanson Public Library.
Okay.
And she, the new reference librarian, offers a lot of technology classes.
She does, yeah. Every month she picks 2 different topics and does a program. She just actually did one recently about cutting the cords, so switching from cable to streaming media, and we had a really good turnout for that, so she's going to try to do that again at some point.
I saw that. That's one that intrigues me. And I have to say, I think she's doing a magnificent job, or whomever it is that's of getting the programs out there, because I do constantly see things, that you guys are doing.
She's the younger generation, so that's kind of built into them,
It's good to know that little people are getting encouraged to come, because if you start them young, it's a gift for life, so that's great.
And the middle school age is picking up, and the high school students, which is good.
Right.
I think what it was, 2019, the library was most visited by the millennials. So, and I think a lot of people surprised at that, but you could visit the library by even going on to one of the programs and checking out a book. That counts as a visit to the library.
Yeah. And the state actually just put out a recent statistic that more people visited libraries than went to the movies in, I think it was in 2019.
Wow, that's
so-
really, wow, that's interesting.
so.
Yeah.
It's cheaper.
Yeah, any other questions, or,
Great job. That's
yeah,
excellent
thank you
stuff.
so much.
Thank you very much.
Thanks. Okay, I'm not quite sure how to transition from that to award bid for 0 Liberty Street land disposition. John, I think we've got a little update on that. Did you want to kind of update everybody on where we're at?
Yeah, so 0 Liberty Street was put out to bid, and it was land that was declared surplus and authorized for disposition at the October 1st, 2018 special town meeting. It was put out to bid. It ended up being that the information that should have been included in the bid was not included in the bid. It didn't include information that the lot was non-conforming and it would require a variance to build on from the Zoning Board of Appeals. That's a substantive information that should have been included in the bid and would have influenced people's bid had they known that information. It lacks about 5 feet of frontage in order to be a buildable lot. So because we left out substantive info that should have been disclosed in the bid, my recommendation is to amend the information to include that info and rebid the project. Rebid the disposition of the land, I apologize. And so my recommendation again would be to reject all proposals on this request for proposal and rebid that with the new updated information included.
Do you need us to make a motion?
Yes, and a timeline on that would be, it's going to be our top priority to get it right back out again with the included information. And we think the bid deadline could be March 25th or so. So it's not, a long way away, but it is about another month and a half.
All right, it's not going to delay us a year. Okay. I will entertain a motion.
Before we have a motion. My name's Tim McCory, 437 East Washington Street.
Oh, sir, typically the way the process works is we have a motion, we have a second, and then we open it up for conversation. So I'll be more than glad to recognize you then.
Thank you.
Okay,
So moved.
okay,
Second.
okay. Any comments or questions?
No,
Okay.
I think we should hear from him.
Mr. McCord?
Yes, thank you.
Yep.
I happen to be the winning bidder at 125,500, and I accept whatever problem there is with the property as far as the land not having quite enough frontage.
Okay. I think, did you want to?
I talked this over with both town council and the inspector general's office, and they both agreed that this was substantive information that was left out of the RFP and that we should rebid, so I'm following their direction on this.
Yeah, I think
I
that,
actually talked to the building inspector a week, 2 weeks before. He told me the same thing, and I accept it.
I understand, sir, but I think what, and trust me, we do appreciate your bid, because that all goes into the town coffers. But I think where we're coming from is we could get sued by somebody besides you for not disclosing that information in the bid. So in a way, you may have known about it, and maybe somebody else bidding didn't know about it. And so when the Inspector General calls us and tells us that they think we need to follow a different procedure, we have to follow that procedure. So we hope you'll bid again, now knowing the full,
How soon would this bid come back?
Well, I think,
March 25th is the date that we're trying to work
Yep.
for, and
That'll be the deadline, March.
that'll be the deadline.
We'll email you as soon as the
We're going to turn this
RFP is
around as quickly
released.
as we possibly can, and it is to, if there were a bid protest from someone who was not the winning bidder,
Right.
they may be able to win on their protest. So
Right.
this would be going back and doing it so that
this protects us,
this
it protects
us,
him,
and
it protects everybody. It
There
just-
will be no,
Yeah.
anyone can protest anything, but they would not win if we were to rebid. They may
Yeah.
have a case, or likely to have a case if we were to.
So I hope you appreciate where we're coming from.
Thank you.
And I'm sorry that you're getting tortured this way by having to go through the process, but hope you'll stick in there and,
I apologize,
All
but
right.
this is.
okay, great. Did you have any other comments or?
No.
Okay. Anything else on that, John?
No, that was it.
Guys, you all set?
Yeah.
Okay, so we've got a motion and a second, all in favor? Okay, great.
And one abstention.
And you're abstaining, okay, thank you, Matt, for pointing that out. Okay, great. that moves us to the Plymouth County Hospital reuse plans update, and I guess Mr. Ellis and Matt, are you participating here too? Okay. Thank you, sir.
I'm Bill Ellis, the chair. So, Pat is the vice chair.
Okay.
So I'd like to transfer and have him
Do the presentation.
take your representative.
Yep, okay.
As we explain stuff, we'll help you identify things that you have on the plan.
Okay, sounds good.
Right, Matt?
Yes, sir. Thank you. All right, so as Don was saying, and from last time, I serve on the Plymouth County Reuse Committee.
They're right
Yes.
here.
Do you guys have, am I the only one who, no.
I'm looking.
Kenny, come on, Kenny.
Let's go faster.
Dig them out.
Hey, Matt's got one right there.
Kenny, you got one. It's cut on your nameplate.
No, there it is.
There it is.
John's hiding in the bottom.
Thank you.
That's what you need to tell yourself.
So, just so give everyone a little bit of background for the viewers at home of how we got to this point. We were tasked by the Board of Selectmen to come up with reuse opportunities up at the old Plymouth County Hospital. We took input from the community numerous times. We had numerous listening sessions. We hired the Conway School to come in and kind of give us some proposed uses that we could do up there, and gave us some systematic proposals, what we could do up there. We had a couple hearings or listening sessions down at Hanson Middle School, and they gave us different concepts that we could utilize. We took all three concepts and we worked within our committee that were all public hearings or public meetings that were open to the public. And so as you can see on your plans, you have High Street at the bottom of your page. You have the food pantry and the beekeepers right there, and the community garden to kind of give everyone an idea of a point of reference. So what we hope to do, we're just talking about the park portion tonight. We have explored other opportunities there, such as solar and any other opportunities that the public wanted us to look into. So what we heard at the listening sessions was that we want passive recreation. We do not want active recreation such as baseball, soccer, or anything like that up at the park. We want it passive recreation, biking, walking, bird watching, maybe an event up there like Shakespeare in the park, and maybe a playground or so. We know that our financial outlook here in the town of Hanson isn't saying we're going to be rich and we can just go out and do this. So we want to do this in phases, and we hope to utilize not only grants and CPC money and town funds, but any other opportunities that come our way. So with that being said, in order to achieve certain grants, we have to have a certain number of parking lots to be able to get those big checks to bring back to the town of Hanson. So as you can see, our theme that we really want to stick with is New England. We want to make sure that this park has that nice New England feel that really identifies with the town of Hanson. We do not want to do a modern park. We don't want to do an urban park. We really want to embrace our culture here as New England. So our main driveway, right down at the base at High Street, we call this the 2 lanes going in and out of Plymouth County Hospital, and we're going to hopefully come up with a different name in the future, so be aware of that. But nice 2 lanes kind of going into the park, nice parking area, an event pavilion where, a nice little amphitheater outside, a nice playground for all different ages, from toddlers to kids to teens, to the community garden, as well as extending it to having a nice orchard, and then also utilizing the front portion here for a nice little mini Sturbridge Village kind of feel for the Historic Commission and Society. We hope to put another water tower up there as well. So with saying that we're not the richest bunch of people around, we are trying to minimize the cost of the town of Hanson. So you can kind of see that there's emergency access roads, and this is to kind of minimize how much money we're going to have to spend on paving. We're just going to do a dirt road just so people can get in and out. We sent the plans to the chief of police, the chief of fire to get their reviews. They gave us the stats that they would like to see for emergency roads versus paths and whatnot. So with that being said, I also have another slide here that kind of gives you an idea of land use. Brown represents wooded areas, green represents lawn. One thing that is internal debate right at the moment with the committee is the open field up here. While some recommend a meadow that's only going to be mowed once a year, that has wildflowers, to really minimize how much maintenance is going up there, because we don't have the manpower in the town to have someone mowing this field every other day. So we recommend a meadow, but that's an internal debate that keeps on going back and forth. So if you guys have any advice for the committee, we'll welcome that. And a nice open green area right here, so you can have your lawn sports like croquet, volleyball, flying kite, whatever you hope to do. And going back to the meadow, we can cut nice walking paths in there too. So it's not, so it is still usable for the public. As we said, a playground, orchard, water tower. So that just kind of gives a better idea of what we hope to have the park look like. A nice veterans memorial, a dog park if a community group wants to come forward and fundraise, and go from there. So Don, am I missing anything?
No, I think you pretty much covered it. What we would probably like tonight is a blessing from the board to keep going forward and looking for grants and coming back with proposals for the infrastructure. We've asked the engineer to come back with an approximate ballpark figure. So we have to have the infrastructure, obviously, in order to get the grants. So you have to be able to have the access to get in and get out, and the any other utilities and things that.
So some of the site work, just kind of
Right, it's all
basic
site
site work. So you had talked about phases. What would be your very first thing that you guys would see yourselves doing?
Right. So
So let's say you get the site work done. What's next?
well, that's the first phase. Right?
Okay.
It's the site work. So there's a couple of ways that you can phase in the site work. We can just focus on this part right here, depending on what money that we have allowance to us. Whether it's grants or town funds, and then maybe this could be second phase for the larger parking lot. But what I think first phase is site work, a playground, expanding the community garden would be bare minimum, so we'd be able to do that. And also too, you want to start on your orchard so they can grow. Wait times on your hand when you plant a tree today.
And those are all reasonably inexpensive
Right.
things to start up, and maybe we could get a community group to rally behind the children's playground as
Right.
well. But CPC money obviously could be used for a lot of this stuff, and I like where you guys are going, where let's just get the site work. You've got a clean palette up there without Plymouth County Hospital, building up there. Get the site work, then people can start getting in and enjoying paths and what have you, while you guys are starting to phase this all in. Is that kind of what your thought process was?
And then,
Yeah.
in the future, hopefully we can raise funds for a veterans memorial, because one thing that we heard from our veteran population is we don't have a centralized
Yes.
memorial for everyone that had served.
Yep.
And that's something that we hear over and over and over, whether it's up at Plymouth County Hospital or here on Town Hall Green. That's something that we should look into. A dog park could be another phase that be raised. What I have found is dog parks, they work well if there's a community group that's invested, that want to raise money for it, that want to operate it. Because
Wants to police it, wants to, yeah.
Because if
yeah.
you build it, it goes unpoliced,
Yeah.
and then it becomes a nightmare. An event pavilion is obviously something in the third phase, as well as facilities to support that.
Now, were you looking to put I'm not the greatest at reading these types of things, but where is this next to the food pantry, the restaurant?
So, right, so this is just, we were talking about maybe building a bathroom on the back side of here,
This
but.
is-
Oh, that's what I thought.
That's the
Okay.
food pantry.
That's what I
here,
thought.
And that's the parking.
Yep,
This will be additional parking here. This will be a row of trees, arborvitaes or cedar maybe.
nice.
He doesn't like arborvitaes. And this will be a little orchard here. This will be an outside bathrooms facility for the general area here.
Now, did you guys pick that area because it's already tied into water?
Correct.
Okay.
So, but once again, this is just kind of a base plan for
Yeah.
us to jump into this. If we're able to raise the funds where we can build a facility, maybe right here, that would really better service the public, great, let's do it. But for right now, let's do this as cheap as possible.
I'm sure you guys are aware there's already extreme septic issues there.
Correct, yeah.
I'm just gonna leave it there. I don't know why it always comes to down to septic for some of these plans, but it does.
We're working on that, and I
Okay.
believe it'll be adequate, what we've had found so far.
Okay,
It's got to take some detail to get into the lower fields, but my understanding is back in '85, this was all, the hospital updated everything, a new field.
Really?
6-inch mains that
Wow.
ran up here, PVC.
Yep.
Into this tank here. This side, I think, is the old cast iron,
Yep,
must be
yes,
cast iron pipe.
yeah.
We went in here the other day and pulled the cover here. It's never been pumped since the town has owned this place. But it doesn't look bad, it's flowing and it's not solid at the top. So we had Heritage come in that does
yeah.
the work for the
Yeah.
town. And he coming back with a proposal to pump that tank, because we have to pump it anyway. But it looks like everything running down through this line here, all the way down. Now, the reason I think that the system is fine is because in '85, I think it is, don't quote me on the date, 6 years after that, they closed the hospital. So it had very little use on this. The usage was up here with the bee people, the 4-H was
Yeah.
in here for a while, the sheriff's department was in here for a
Yeah.
while. The maintenance people were up here and there, and that other building, the doctor's building, when they finally moved out. and
So that's all new pipe, not really used that
No,
much, and...
this is all new
Yep.
from here
Yep.
all the way down.
Yeah,
But we have to explore to see if this tank is still connected, or what they did with the tank when they took the hospital down. Did they fill it, and so on. There has to be research done on the field. But I feel, because they stopped using it, it's got to be good. It's a massive field down there. But there's growth with vegetation down there,
roots
and
and
trees
what-
and
yeah,
stuff,
yeah,
so you
yeah.
don't know if the roots got into it.
yeah.
But it's still flowing down through here, but later on, we'll have that pumped, and then we'll be evaluating that at the same time.
Okay. I mean, I think your hypothesis is probably a good one. Like, it sounds pretty good. Do you guys have any questions?
Matt, so where would a proposed solar field go?
Sure. So in relation to right here, we have the back fields more towards the north, right over here, that go way out back. If solar was feasible there, that's what we would recommend. But it's all about feasibility, whether or not that it would work. I know that Mike had looked there
Well,
in the past.
I'm sorry for interrupting. We've had someone up there before, right? Where they said certain parts of the
Yes.
area are better than other parts
Yeah.
of the area.
Right. And in that discussion too, they were just proposing to put solar right here. That would really take away from
Yeah.
the recreational opportunities.
Right.
That's
for
the
public.
understatement of the night.
So yeah, I mean, I think we can revisit it again in the backfields if it's feasible, because one, we'll have to make sure that we can run the utilities out that way too, to bring it to the grid. But I'm not opposed to looking at it again and having that discussion, because if we can bring in some revenue from this property,
Exactly.
I think that's good. I know one thing that we also discussed in the group too is the front end of the building here is vacant. If we can make that into
Yes.
an incubator space or individual office space, right now that's big to have a common
Yep.
workspace right now. That market's blowing up. Brockton's looking into it right now of having multiple incubator spaces in downtown Brockton. So it'd be nice to have it here in Hanson as well.
Yep.
On the, I'd just like to add one thing on the other. My understanding, years ago, and I think it was Jim Armstrong, was a selectman or was on the committees or something.
Yeah.
He said that the selectmen approved the fields and the back part to do solar with coming with a main line that was going up Bonnie Hill Road.
Oh, wow.
Because there's an easement to go down through there.
Okay.
But I don't have that paperwork, so I have no idea, but that's what I was told. So it might be something you guys might want to look into.
Okay.
Or have John look into it.
Sure.
Yeah, interesting. Of course, I want Kenny to look into it at the highway building.
So, I do have a question.
Sure.
And now, on the committee's research on grants, what type of grants are available and what's the average dollar amount of any of the grants that you guys think that the town may qualify for this project?
That's a great question. The Massachusetts Department of Conservation and Recreation and the Executive Office of Energy and Environmental Affairs, they're very generous with their grant opportunities. It's one of those cases where you can only apply for it once. They only have one opening or submission per year. But those grants can be up to almost $1 million depending on what it is.
Right, okay.
So sometimes they don't necessarily just give out $1 million, they'll give you chunks to support it, and you need to have matching funds, like with a lot of grants. So to answer your question, to give you an average, I wouldn't want to give a figure on that, but it's pretty substantial, maybe 100, 200, 300,000.
Right, okay.
But it all depends on what the grant is and what matching opportunities there are.
Also, I think the playground and that type of stuff if you make it accessible, there may be some great money there for that as well, to have it an inclusive, play area.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I spoke, just to add to that, I spoke to the lady that was in charge of that a couple of years ago, and what was required for playgrounds in our area and stuff like that. They give up to $400,000 for that, but there are qualifications.
Yeah.
You have to have 30,000 people in the town, you got to be near transportation and so on. But she said not to worry because they take all kinds of other things into consideration to be able to do that stuff. So where it is, how the town is doing it, what's involved, what else is there. So when you get a bigger picture of other things being there, they seem to, but I've never done it before, but they seem to loosen the string, so to speak.
Yeah, because I think you guys know we're up against it, more so than typically we have been, and so I think grants is going to be the key to moving this forward, and community preservation, which is our own little grant opportunity within the town. So, and I know that the CPC guys have been judiciously guarding that money there, knowing that there was going to be a use up at Plymouth County Hospital. So I feel quite optimistic about that. Well, this is great work. Mr. Bloss, did you have any questions? Or?
Nope.
Okay. Ms. Carter?
As a resident, I've attended some of the meetings, and I found them very interesting. Of course, it's nice when you look at that plan that's all in the color,
Yeah.
the different areas. But I think it'll be a very peaceful place for Hanson residents to take
Yes.
advantage of. The walking trails,
Yep.
just sitting there reading a book, I think it's something we really need. And also, the meadow, wildflower meadow, is not as expensive an item to take care of as some of the other items. So
Yeah.
that kind of takes over itself.
Yeah, I think it's going to be wonderful. I feel very optimistic about this. And I know you guys have been really just so dedicated, meeting so often and, for so long. And I really appreciate the dedication from everybody on the committee. I hope on behalf of the board that you'll extend our thanks to everybody.
Thank you.
Good job.
So you would like a motion from us, or?
Yeah, a motion of something so we can go forward.
Okay.
And look for grants and come back and work with town administrator, John. And to be able to continue, if the board wants us to do that.
Are we approving this plan? Is that the
Yes.
motion to
We took a
approve this
vote.
plan?
As a committee, we took a vote and approved the plan, that this is the one that, the base plan.
I certainly wouldn't want to second guess all of the
No.
good work that you guys have done. You've been appointed for a reason, and you've been doing a good job, and I wouldn't want to second guess any of that. And knowing that as things evolve, you're going to come back on some of the finer details and check in with us, and, you know, maybe if it's not, can't be there because of something, then it's going to be there, that type of thing, and,
Well, like Matt said too, there's gonna be possibly changes, and
Right.
they're gonna do it in
Yeah.
phases, so it's not all gonna be just clunked all done at once, so.
What we tried to do is to get the big things that can't be moved around a lot, you know, like the children's playgrounds and the parking area
Yep.
and things like that, to try and break it up. We got emergency, like Matt said, that we got an emergency overflow there, so if we have carnivals out in the backfield here, and the carnival can come in at this one-way road and set up. If you have a band come in here for concerts during the summer, the overflow traffic can be opened so it goes out this way, so it's not all coming back this way. The rotary roundabout here is to slow the traffic down, and there'll be sidewalks for the children and stuff to walk around in, and then the trails and stuff. So the nuts and bolts of it, probably this will stay the same, this, and plus the dog park and stuff can go anywhere. And this doesn't stop everything from coming. Eventually, maybe other generations will want to put something else in there. They want to have quiet areas and things like that so they can meditate and so on. You can plug those in.
I'm all for meditation. Thank you,
when I
Mr.
think
Ellis.
about meditation, I think about you. Your face
You
just pops
do?
into my mind.
Oh, my God. All right, let's continue. I'll make the motion.
You wanna make a,
Oh, go ahead, Kenny.
I was gonna say, I'll make a motion for this board to agree with the conceptual site plan for the former Plymouth County Hospital site.
I'll second that.
Okay, that was a
I
mouthful.
wasn't going to come up with all of that.
All in favor, and you can vote on this, you don't have to recuse yourself. Good work, and
Great,
again, extend our thanks, we
So, and then
appreciate it.
before we close this out, I just want to make sure that we put the plug out there that, you know, just like the Friends of Kiwanee in the past taking care of Camp Kiwanee, we hope to have a Friends group taking care of our new park. So if there's anyone at home that wants to get involved and help with fundraising and start a nonprofit to make sure that this gets up and off the ground, we really would welcome that. And I want to be on the record too, saying that we as the Board of Selectmen should really start thinking about possible systematic changes and reorganization of some of our committees
Yes.
and oversight to kind of streamline the process of who's overlooking everything, you know, all the open space in the parks and fields versus then just athletics over there, open space over here. We're not talking about.
You're right, we've talked about it,
Yep.
we've touched upon it in various meetings. We do need to come up with a more strategic
Right, and I
plan.
think seasonal help to maintain lawns so our full-time guys aren't tied up mowing lawns when they could be out doing culverts or ditches or whatever it
Yep.
may be. So,
All right, well, thank you so much.
thank you. Thank you.
And you guys making a pitch to CPC sometime soon? Okay, good.
Why don't we jump ahead, since Dave is here?
Good night.
Night, Don.
Thank you.
Thanks, Don. Have a good
sorry?
night.
Dave Mansfield is here, why don't we just...
Oh, well, I don't know you. Hi, sir. Thank you, Wes. So we can certainly jump ahead. We will be looking at Conservation Commission appointments. Dave Mansfield. Sir, did you have an opportunity to, oh, sure. Do you want to tell us about yourself? Tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, I did submit a short paper.
Yep,
I tried
yes.
to make things a little quicker
Yep.
and easier for you, but I've been in town since '74. And I've been on other committees in the past in town, and I'm retired now, so I have a little more time. And I thought I'd like to get back to this town. It's turned out to be home for my wife and I now, after all the early years. And I spent a lot of time hiking around in what open area there is in town, and I have a good feel for that. And I started to get thinking about what I could do related to that. That's what my interests are. So I came down to volunteers as a possible volunteer person for conservation, and found out they have an opening committee. So
Yeah.
here I stand.
Okay. Did anybody have any questions?
Today's primary in New Hampshire, he's got my vote.
You want to make the motion?
I just have one question. Can you ski?
No.
Okay,
And I lived in Colorado.
that's why I asked you that.
Is that a prerequisite?
Well,
No, he lived in Colorado and I was in Massachusetts. I figured the guy might be able to
January
ski.
in Colorado in the mountains in the construction business. 6 days a week. When you get to Sunday, put another log on the fire.
Listen, fair enough.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Through you, I'd like to make a motion to appoint Dave Mansfield to the Conservation Commission. He's a great asset to our community. He's engaged with some of our local community groups, such as Green Hanson. He goes out on their walks. He's familiar with the local conservation areas. I think he'd be a great asset to have on the board.
Second.
All in favor? Okay, great. Thank you so much for stepping up. Congratulations.
Full-time told me it's a thankless job.
At least you know what you're getting into.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much.
Thanks, Dave.
You just have to stop by and see Beth.
Yes, you need to stop by and see Beth Sloan and get sworn in.
I will do that.
Okay, yeah.
I also completed the conflict of interest.
That's always helpful. We appreciate that. That's a good start. Good. All right, thank you.
Have a good night.
Night.
Okay, town administrator goals and objectives. So we put that on here just to kind of start the ideas percolating a bit, if you will. In your packet, you'll see that John Stanbrook provided us with an example of what he had used or what they had used in Mansfield, which was a great, I thought a nice, footprint. It breaks out the various goals by governance, budget and finance, economic development, communication, townwide improvements, and then other. And I think those are kind of the high points of some of the goals, almost all of the goals that we would set. I can't think of anything that wouldn't fall into one of those categories, and if it didn't, we could stick it under other. So I thought we might ask Greer to kind of use this as the template. And then if you guys can feed your ideas to Greer of goals that you'd like to have John and this board, because obviously John's not doing this job by himself, work on. And we'll take the goals that we put together last year, integrate those in, and then we'll have a discussion. Does that sound like an appropriate protocol? Mm-hmm. Does anybody have any concerns, or, yes, Mr. Dyer?
I just was saying it'd be nice to have a comment section rather than just putting numbers down on the pages.
Comments just to talk, maybe give a little detail about where things are or why they're there? Or...
Right, either on each individual item or just at the end, just having an open comment, just saying, hey, keep up the great job, we hope to see more detail here, or whatever it may be. But just to have some more detail there might be helpful than just numbers on line items.
Okay, so I think, I understand where you're coming from. I think this is task accomplishment measurement. This is not necessarily his review. This won't be, it will integrate this into his review, and that's where I would see those comments coming. Is that where you're thinking when we're giving him feedback about, So this is for all of us to see how far we've come in towards the reaching of the goals, and then when we sit down, certainly with John, this is going to be a critical part of his review, but the detail will be in the comments.
Okay.
Yeah. Does that address your concern?
Yep.
Okay. Any other questions or thoughts or concerns? Mr. Hickey?
Yeah, we're doing what we decided last year, what we had written, or what we had decided to do before was every 6 months.
Yes.
Am I right?
Yep.
Yeah, and we had the dates set for, what was it, July and January?
Yeah, well, obviously, we had a little hiccup.
Yeah, we did. But, because I think I would like to incorporate what we had.
That's what we're going to do.
Okay,
Yeah, she's going to take what we had. And we can certainly, if we like some of these that he has, great. But this is probably a little
Overboard.
A little bit, yeah.
Just an example.
Yeah.
Again, we had two full-timers.
We can get rid of ones that we don't necessarily think are applicable to us, but certainly she's going to break down and categorize the ones we already were working on. And then if you guys have got other ones to add in, then we'll add that. Does that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Greer, now that I'm making a commitment for you to do all of this,
Yes.
does that seem achievable?
Absolutely.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Any other comments or thoughts, or? Okay, well, John, this is great. Thanks for sharing it. It gives us an idea of of how others do it. And John and I had this conversation today, but I just feel like setting goals is so important, both personally and then as a board. And, you're not always going to meet the goals, but it helps you have a vision, it helps you prioritize, it helps you remind yourself, what did we say we wanted to work on this year? And I think when we met in December and we went over our accomplishments, even though we had been hit with quite a bit as a board during the year, and that is the understatement, I was pretty pleased at how much we had done, and I think some of it was because we just kind of kept chugging along. We had these goals that we had identified.
Yeah.
So I think it's worked well for us in the past, and with a little bit more rigor and putting it in this, it may even work better for us. So, Mr. Dyer, anything on that? Okay, great. Moving along. John, are you okay with that? Anything on that?
Absolutely, yeah, just
Okay.
hope it's not 42 things to do, that's all, like this.
Yeah.
We can definitely get rid of 26.
Yeah, and I think as I mentioned to you today, John, I tend to err more on the side of let's keep it simple and achievable. I don't want to get all kinds of crazy. I don't mind having brainstorming and having stuff that at some point we'd like to do, but we need to be realistic about what we can ask to be achieved in the midst of being the chief HR person and chief cook and bottle wash and everything else that you're doing. So, okay, great. U.S. Census Boundary Survey. Did you want to cue that up for us?
So we got a letter from the United States Department of Commerce, the U.S. Census Bureau, and in essence it says that they have certain boundaries for the town, and they want us to check those, and we have to do this as part of the census. Liga Marsh in the assessor's office will be checking the boundaries. They had a CD, and we have to punch it in and go to the GIS and check where the actual town boundaries are. And we have to get back to the Census Bureau by March 1st. Lee is going to do that, and I just would ask that we put this on the February 25th meeting, because it's supposed to be, these documents are supposed to be signed by the highest elected official in the town.
Okay.
So that would be you.
Does this give her sufficient time to do this, or? This must not be the meets and bounds
No, it's not
process.
the meets and
Okay,
bounds.
all right, okay, because that
This
sounded
is-
extremely painful.
This is just something from the Census Bureau that says, the town boundaries are this, and you have to, signify that they still are what they were 10 years ago.
Okay, sure, we'll plan on putting that, great, so you'll put that on there, and then also we'll have on the next agenda the goal discussion.
Yes.
Okay, so I believe that's also on the 25th. Then we've got some information from Chief Thompson regarding the 1986 Maxim fire engine, and he would like to declare that surplus. Now, John, walk us through that process, because when Matt and I were at the Massachusetts Municipal Association conference in January, there were a couple of companies that specialized in taking things that towns would declare surplus and shopping it around.
Municipal.
Yes.
Yeah. And there were 2 or 3 companies that did this, and I was very impressed with this process, and I thought, I think we need to get on board with this, or at least think about getting on board with it. Have you had any familiarity or?
Mansfield used Municipid
Okay.
quite frequently to do stuff like this.
And did
with
that
surplus
work well?
properties. Yes, I felt that it got.
It costs us nothing.
Right,
It's-
that's what I was thinking, okay.
Right. And they do all the work. They take the photos, they
Yep.
post it, they do
They
everything.
did a great job. We moved all the surplus inventory like that on Municipid. I think there was a slight charge, but it wasn't a lot. It was $50, $75.
Well, I can't recall which company. I spoke to two of the booths, and one of them said that any costs that are for anything is passed on to the buyer.
Yeah.
Obviously, that would be my preference, but if it's modest, very, very modest, then. So can you just walk us through what that process would look like for the board? Like if we decide we declare this surplus and then.
Declared surplus,
Yep.
it's available for disposition. I would contact Municipid, we would get the information up on Municipid, they would set the online auction up. You have to sign in as a bidder and do all, do whatever you need to do in order to sign up and actually show that you have the money to bid on it, and then it will go out to the public. And the public could bid on it on a specific amount of period of time, and then the high bidder gets it, and they collect the money and send it to us and take their cut out, or
And it could be people from out of state.
It's
I
a
mean,
wide
he
net.
was giving me an example of a town that had an old building that they restored, and there was a vault, and they said, oh, this is like wasteless, maybe, this is, you know, like, maybe we should just sell it for scrap metal, and somebody came from Indiana to get this thing and paid like $7,000 or $8,000. They just had never expected that they would get any money, so to me, that was a pretty good example of why we'd want to use this and maybe get the most money we can. Okay, so do you need us to make a motion to declare this surplus and to go to municipal bid, or?
Just to declare it surplus.
Okay, great.
And if you like, I'll go to municipal bid. That doesn't have to be part of the vote. but-
Okay, I will entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Any questions? Mr. Dyer?
I would like to kind of I would like to make this process a little bit more uniformed as departments declare things surplus. Can we just get pictures of it, just so we know exactly what we're talking about? Just because I know we had questions with Camp Kiwanis declaring canoes.
That's
and
true,
stuff
we
like
did
that.
end up having to get.
So it'd be kind of nice to do the same with this as well, and that way the information gets out to the public, with the packets and stuff.
Good point, Mr. Dyer, and I would say also consistently going forward, if you guys are in agreement, would want to use a municipal bid or something like that to make sure we're maximizing the amount of money that the town can get. Does that?
Absolutely,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, so, does that seem doable? Okay, great. Thank you, Mr. Dyer. We,
Need to vote?
yes, yep. Oh, did we get a first and second? And
Yes.
then okay,
Yep.
sorry, guys. Okay, so that was unanimous.
First and second on that.
Yeah, I did. Thank you.
Moving along, request for fee waiver for 8th grade recognition dance. Well, how lovely. Did anybody want to entertain a motion here?
So moved.
Okay,
Second.
okay, all in favor?
I just wanted to
Yes.
make a comment on this. For the 8th grade trip, not the 8th grade trip, but the 8th grade rec dance.
Yep,
This is coming out of the pockets of the parents, not the school. So the parents of the 8th graders actually pay for this dance every year.
Yep.
And I just wanted to make sure that they got recognition, because when I was a kid, I thought it was the school putting it on, not the parents and the community. So for our meetings recognition, I want to say kudos to them and thank you very much for doing
it.
that.
thank you, Mr. Dyer, and great, so we'll follow through. So did I have a first and second on that? Okay.
Yes.
All right,
That end.
okay. All in favor? Okay, great. And to that end, Greer, could we make sure that we do have whatever we're calling it, I personally call it shout-outs, but recognition section on it as a standing item on the agenda?
Absolutely,
Okay, great.
yeah.
Old business. It's blank, but did you have any old business?
I know.
Okay, nothing that you're probably not going to handle in the town administrator.
Yeah, the last 2.5
Yeah.
weeks, nothing.
There's been a lot, but.
What you been doing, John?
Not much.
Really?
Town administrator's report, Mr. Stanbrook.
Thank you. Well, I have old business in the town administrator's report, and those would be the board actions that that you asked me to do, to get on from last week, 2 weeks ago, last meeting. One of the questions that you asked was on fuel costs. You wanted me to analyze the reports given to me by the highway department and where the budget increases in fuel related to increased use or increased price. It ended up being that it's pretty much increased price. We've built in about a 20-cent increase in gasoline and diesel.
Okay.
That may or may not happen, but it's good to have a little bit of a cushion. We looked at, Todd and Hanson, the town accountant, and I looked at usage for fiscal year 19, and then fiscal year 20 up to December, and then projected out and it was pretty much equal. So it is just a price cushion, if you will, just in
Yeah.
case things go up.
Okay, thank you.
May not be needed. The debt schedules for June 30th, 2019, you wanted me to include, to send that to you, and that is included in there. It's this document here, again, that's from the town accountant. I asked the town accountant to give me more detail about, other than this, just for my own edification of what each bond looks like, the pay down on it. I get a little bit more detail in the bonding than this, and I can share those things with you, or I cannot share them. I don't know if you'll find them useful or not. I just like to see each payment as we go and different options with it, just kind of funded.
The accountant.
I should know those things, so I can pass that along, but that debt schedule was in there. You directed me to work with, directly with town council and have town council work directly with New Bedford Waste to try to hammer out a 6-month contract. No resolution on that. They have been, our town council did reach out to New Bedford Waste. I have not heard any contract being reached or any agreement being reached, but I think they are at least trying to get together on that. So there's no update on that, but I did put them directly, put our town council directly in touch with New Bedford Waste person.
And in the interim, at what rate are we paying?
We have not received a bill since the January bill which was for December, which was $95 a ton.
95.
Looking at you because I want to make sure that I'm saying that right.
That's correct.
I haven't seen another bill, but you may have got
No.
one. No. So the December bill was $95 a ton. That's the last one we've received.
Okay.
So when they can work that out, they have been working, trying to get it going. The Whitman Hanson Regional School District Operation and Comparative Audit, the invitation for bid is ready to be put out. I just haven't had a chance to do it. The Whitman Town Administrator, Mr. Lynham, likes what I've sent over, and we're ready to go. It's just getting the timelines lined up so we can get it rolling, get it published in the newspaper, putting it on where it needs to be put, to get the public notice in it. So that
You
should
think
be
we
ready.
could try to pull the trigger by next Tuesday on
I
that?
hope so, yes.
Okay.
It's a priority.
I know you've put a lot of effort, and I appreciate it, into getting that put together. So I'd like to get that done because I think it's critical for us to get those numbers, and the only way we're going to get the numbers is to get the audit. So we're going to get the bid out.
Yes. Last time you asked about grants for highway garages, I've researched and searched around. I haven't found any to date. I'll continue to search and update if I find anything, but right now I don't see any type of state grants for highway garages. The police officer personnel moves from the last meeting have all been completed, ready to go. Ms. Lewis, the new COA van driver from last meeting, her onboarding is completed and she starts tomorrow, Wednesday, February 12th. And the Liberty Street Complete Streets project, I met with Kurt McLean and Deb Petty on that, and we're going to hold off until Matt Cahill comes back next Tuesday, get his blessing on it, and we'll be ready to go with that. I want to make sure that he's on board with everything that we're talking about.
Yep.
And once he is, it's all go.
Well, that's good. We didn't know the timing for Matt, so that's good. Yeah, that will work.
So those are all the old business things that we had talked about at the last meeting that you had tasked me to complete. On new business, we went last Wednesday. You, Mr. Dyer, and myself went to a regional school district meeting with Whitman Hanson, the budget overview. They handed out these documents and went through them. We can talk about it at another time. It was a large increase to Hanson, and it would be difficult to come up with this amount of money. We'll see how that goes from there, but I did attend that meeting.
None of you would have been surprised. This was really, honestly, the budget that had been discussed, I don't know when...
The early budget they gave us?
Yeah. So it was essentially the same. They just tweaked the way they broke it out. And instead of having 3 categories, now there's 2 where they've rolled in the bare minimum, and then I think they're calling it required, and then recommended. So there used to be 3 categories, now it's 2.
Do they have the full day kindergarten in there?
They do in the embellished recommended, which is, I think everybody, even the superintendent, acknowledged that he felt certain he wasn't going to get the recommended. There was quite a bit of discussion about the need for a full-day kindergarten, and I think, while the full-day kindergarten is probably needed, there is a time and place for everything, and this year may not be the time or the place. We are up against it. So we'll have more of a discussion at our next meeting about this. Quite honestly, we don't really have the numbers to respond to. This was their first pass. They will sharpen their pencil. They will come up with a different dollar amount that we then will, the school committee will then take a vote on and will respond to. But, I think we we definitely have got some things in the mix. I am going to be putting together, I think I asked John, and I've talked to him, and I also emailed Greer, to put together a, I don't know what to call it, I'm calling it like an information panel, where we will have Jay Talaman, a couple members of the Board of Selectmen, or all of us if you guys want, a couple members of school committee, Todd, FinCom, to simply have a panel so that people from town can come and ask whatever questions they've got about how did we get here, what are we doing, what can we do, whatever they've got questions about the budget or the legality of where we're at with the assessment. I think it's premature to have that now because, again, we don't have even a nearly final number. It's got to have a lot more whittling down before it's anything we're going to be able to respond to. But I have asked them to probably see if we could get something late in March, organized, probably at Hanson Middle School. Also mentioned that we may get record attendance at this town meeting, and that we need to think about having a conversation with Sean Keeley to talk about having the gymnasium set up to accommodate for people that if there's an overflow, because we could get
We did that one other time for school.
Yeah, we did end up doing it, and I know they do it a lot for the graduations up there, so they have that simulcast thing down pat up there. And we'll, be having conversations with FinCom. They're already percolating, talking about what projects may or may not be able to go forward, or in suggesting measures of austerity that we probably need to implement. John's working on some things with Todd. So where we're at now is waiting for that final number, but still anticipating that it's going to be larger than what we would normally be able to accommodate. And so we'll have to do some tightening of the belt and perhaps an override. But again, I don't want to put together an override committee quite yet until we have had a little bit more sharpening of the pencil on both sides of the fence, both our side to see what we might be able to pull in, and then see what they come back at the district. So that's kind of where we're at. I didn't mean to go off on that, but just so you guys kind of, and I think one thing I do want to mention is, I know people are very anxious about this, and all I can really say is we're telling everybody what we can tell them at the time that we can tell them about what we're doing. But just because we're not talking a lot about what is being done doesn't mean we aren't doing anything. So I just want to assure you that this whole board is actively working with people in Whitman, with our town accountant, with FinCom, with our attorneys to look at a multifaceted approach so that we can have all of our bases covered. And that's pretty much all I've got to say. I said way more than I anticipated, but.
Okay, just for a quick answer on that full-day kindergarten was $800,000 under their recommended. So there's a required and a recommended. It was on the recommended.
Also, the change in busing times was on the recommended as well, and I think that was going to be an extra 400 some odd thousand.
That was $440,000, so yes.
Yep.
So just wanted to say that. Also in your packet for signatures is the cell tower lease agreement.
Yes.
That was amended. If you remember, that one was to move the towers 100 feet away from property lines. Town council, you had already voted on that, if I got correct. So, so town council had looked at it and it's okay, and that's to be signed. So that's in your packet there for signature. Sorry.
What kind of feedback did we get at ZBA about this? Because I'm getting a few, I don't want to overstate the case here, but I am getting a couple of parents that have reached out to me and have expressed a concern about the cell tower being near the middle school, and that there potentially could be some health concerns. Did any of that come through in the ZBA? Did they talk about that at all? Did
I wasn't at the ZBA meeting.
Look into it? Do we know? I mean, what do we do with concerns that are voiced at a ZBA meeting? Is there a duty to look into them if it's something like this?
It's under their purview.
It's under the zoning board usually to, if they have merit, then they get researched. I wasn't at the meeting, I don't know if they're into the actual 21-day period yet. They may, because you get, are they into it?
I do not
Yeah,
believe
I don't think they are in the 21-day period where you can, lodge a complaint or lodge an issue. So once they get into that official period, then people could come forward with their concerns, and CBA will have to either say that they're not valid or they are.
Okay, because I'm just concerned, I don't want to, look, I do not want to stand in the way of a cell phone tower. But I'm concerned, I want to make sure we're being responsive, that if we're having these hearings, and I don't have any insight into this, maybe the ZBA has been responsive, but that if we're having these hearings and people are expressing these concerns, how are we responding and getting closure on that? And then how, as a board, do we know how those things have been addressed so that in good faith and, full faith and confidence, we can sign on this saying that we know that our appointed board has done what they were supposed to do and has been responsive to people expressing concerns. Hopefully that all made sense, but I don't know, I feel a little anxious about it because I'm getting people asking me about it, and technically ZBA is an appointed board, we appoint them. We also have been the ones who have been kind of pushing for the cell tower, and I think we're doing that in the best interest of all of the citizens of Hanson, but I certainly don't want to do it if there's some detrimental health effect, So what do you suggest we do?
What I can do, if you want to hold off on it, I can do more research and we can put it on for February 25th or something else.
My suggestion would be then, if we are going to hold off on it, to have the zoning board come in on February 25th.
I love it.
And come in and get it done. Every month, or like today we had the library, so the 25th, it's the zoning board.
Okay.
Do you think that's a possibility that we could pull that off, or at least try?
We'll see if they're available.
Okay. And it certainly doesn't need to be the whole board, but if we could get somebody to
Just
come
one
in,
member.
yeah, and tell us what the process was, what kind of feedback they got, and what they're doing about it, I would feel more comfortable. Thank you, Mr.
But as an appointed board by us, the zoning board should have answered all these concerns that Laura already has and addressed those with any one of the, I believe it was 3 hearings?
Yes. Yeah.
So it should be, if the zoning board signed off on it, we should be able to sign off on it.
Yes.
Well, and I looked for minutes, but I didn't see them posted, so that was another concern, and
I went to the first one, I think, I know Matt was there, and nobody had any concerns
I
about,
think the parent came forward after the 3rd hearing.
Okay.
The first parent.
Okay.
Yeah.
And now I think that, people are talking to one another and they're concerned.
but I mean, also, this process has been going on for 2 or 3 years. Cell phone coverage, it's a public safety issue. If your home phone goes down and you can't call an ambulance or something, I mean, we got to get with the times. We're not going to make everybody 100% happy in any decision that we make. We've already signed the lease agreement. They're taking the tower and they're shifting it over. Everybody's done a lot of work. So I agree, have the guys come in, but for us to hold this back based on 1 or 2 opinions,
I don't want to hold it back, but I do just want to make sure, we've got a process, which is a hearing, where people are, what is the point of having a hearing if we're not doing anything about what people say?
well, like John said, you have that 21 days where you can come in and file
Are
something
we
and say,
required right now to sign this? Is that we're going to be holding something up or doing something if we wait till the 25th to have the ZBA guys come?
No, we're not.
Okay, well then I think just out of an abundance of caution, I hear what you're saying, and I absolutely am not trying to be an impediment. God knows, I've got Verizon, I would personally benefit from this, I should probably recuse myself from the vote, but, so I appreciate what you're saying, and I don't want to be an impediment, but we have to balance everybody's needs and concerns, and so I just want to make sure that we're doing that.
Okay.
Okay. Great, thank you, Jim. So we'll just kind of take a pass on that, and we'll revisit it. So yet another thing for the 25th's agenda, Greer. It seems to be growing by the moment.
Building quickly.
Yeah.
So just to continue on the Sargent property, that was the land sold by the town in error. The land was Concom related on Franklin Street. The release deeds have been recorded. Everything's all set. That matter's been put to bed. finally. And great work by Mary Marini to stay on that and get it done. She did a fantastic job there. Last Tuesday, I went on a tour of the Marquand School just for myself. I had never been in there with town planner Deb Petty. No potential buyers came to look at it when we were there, but I did get to walk around myself with Deb. February 18th is the deadline for responses to that request for information. On Monday, February 3rd, I met with the East Bridgewater Town Administrator to discuss IT needs for both towns. Hoping to try to find some sort of synergies to lower costs and maybe try to maximize what we can do and upgrade some access. We had some problems here over the weekend related to the fiber project and to Comcast email problems. So I'd like to try to keep those meetings going, and maybe we can try to work something out with East Bridgewater. We can get some leverage and get some more IT upgrades going. The 2019 audit has been completed. You have a copy of it all. We had a review, they call it an exit interview, a review of all the documents last week. I did that with the town accountant and the town treasurer collector and our external auditor, Rob Lynch. I don't know what had happened here in the past, so I just wanted to ask, would it be useful to have the auditors come in and go through it? It's not useful, is it, it's worthwhile to have them come in and present the numbers, not present the numbers? I don't know.
Are there recommendations that they have? That I think is what,
We need to communicate.
Yeah, that is what I would like to, I think would be helpful is, great. I'm assuming they know how to do their job and audit and crunch the numbers. That's all fantastic. Are there recommendations coming out of that?
They do what's called a management letter that's suggested improvements for internal controls. That's where they say places where we could get better. And they do list things, so if they could come in and talk about the management letter.
I think I'd like that. Would you guys like that?
Financial statements.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Okay, yeah, so if we could do that, maybe not the 25th, because that seems to be getting kind of crazy, but if we can do it maybe one of the next meetings after that?
The management letters.
Yes, I read it, but I think it would be great to get more of a commentary on it and get their,
I'm hoping that they're not going to spend, go through every page of the financial statements and everyone's eyes will glaze over. We'll try to stop that. We'll try to keep it moving and get to the important stuff. But okay, we can set that up. The health insurance meeting on March 11th with the Mayflower Municipal Health Group. They're going to be setting the fiscal year 21 rates. There are some potentials for savings, but it isn't voted yet. So I'll have to wait for the meeting, and as soon as I know what the rates are on that date, I'll be there at the meeting. I'll know, and I'll pass those along. Last Friday, I attended the Municipal Vulnerability Preparedness Grant Workshop at Camp Kawani with two selectmen. I thought it was a useful discussion, a great planning discussion. A personal thing for me, I'd like to try to find a way to capture the institutional knowledge that was in that room last Friday. It was vast. And it was very detailed. I mean, there are people in the room that know this town down to the foot, which I was just astonished. I learned a lot. I thought it was great. I don't know how we could try to replicate that if these individuals were to move to another town, or move to California, or move on somewhere else. I don't know how. That's just a personal comment of mine. I'd love to try to get that information and pass it on to someone else or get it somewhere where it could be more readily available, because it was impressive to see, quite honestly. So
that's good feedback.
And that's it. So thank you very much.
Okay, well, thank you, and keep up the good work.
Thank you.
I know you've had a lot thrown at you in a very short period of time. Okay, committee reports, 200th Anniversary Committee. Woo, we're getting down there. February 22nd, it's the gala. We've got 45 tickets left. These last 45 are just painful. The last 50 have been like going at a glacial pace. I don't know if people are trying to figure out if the weather's going to be good or not, but it's going to be a fantastic time. So I would highly encourage people to come. Charleston lessons, Victrola demonstrations, dancing, food, a fantastic Montelios cake. What more could one ask for? Photo booth.
Alcohol.
There is going to be alcohol, absolutely.
I'll be there.
Yep. Anyway, so So that's it for that. Final Plymouth County Hospital Reuse Committee.
You heard
Did
it
have
here tonight?
Yep.
We'll
Good
be meeting
work.
next week.
Really, really good, solid work. That was awesome. It's so nice to see it all starting to come to fruition.
Nope, absolutely.
Yeah. McQuon School Reuse Committee. We haven't met for a while because we're waiting for the bids to come in, and I think where we're at is, I don't know if these guys are gonna pull it over the line, and if they don't, then we're gonna have to go to Plan B. But we'll continue. Hope springs eternal. Highway Building Committee, Mr.
We haven't met since our last meeting.
Okay. With that, I will entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Okay, great.